The 18-year-old Apache girl fell in love with a mature rancher, and he gave her hope. Maria was only 18, but life had already taught her lessons most people her age hadn't yet faced. She lived on a small Apache reservation in the sun-baked desert of the Southwest, where red earth stretched for miles, dotted with cacti and the occasional cluster of adobe homes. The desert could feel lonely, but to Maria, it had always been home. It was where she had grown up, running barefoot across the sand, listening to the wind whistle through the canyons, and learning the stories her grandmother told around the evening fire. Life on the reservation was not easy. Many families struggled to make ends meet, and Maria's family was no exception. Her father had passed away when she was young, leaving her mother to care for Maria and her three younger siblings. Each day, Maria woke before the sun, completing her chores, sweeping the dusty floors of their small home, fetching water from the communal well, helping her mother prepare meals, and making sure her siblings were ready for school. Even though the work was hard, Maria never complained. She had learned early that helping her family was not a burden, but a responsibility she carried with pride. Despite the challenges, Maria had dreams. Big dreams that seemed almost impossible in the world she lived in. She wanted to go to college, to travel beyond the desert she had always known, and to make a life that went beyond the small circle of the reservation. Often, late at night, she would lie awake on her thin mattress, listening to the soft sounds of the desert, imagining a life filled with possibilities. She pictured herself studying at a university, meeting new people, and seeing cities and oceans she had only ever read about in books. These dreams felt fragile, almost like glass, but Maria held them close because they were hers and hers alone. School itself was a mix of excitement and frustration for Maria. Her teachers encouraged her, recognizing her intelligence and determination, but resources were limited. The library was small, and the internet access was unreliable. Still, Maria studied with dedication, often staying up late to read borrowed books or practice writing essays. She loved learning, and every new fact or story she discovered made her feel as though the world outside the reservation was within her reach. Yet she couldn't ignore the reality around her, the scarcity, the judgment of those who thought young girls like her should accept a simple, predictable life, and the constant reminder that opportunities were rare for someone from her background. Even with the difficulties, Maria found beauty in the everyday. She enjoyed the small moments, the golden sunlight falling over the desert, the laughter of her siblings as they chased one another around their yard, and the warmth of her mother's hand as they worked together in the kitchen. Her grandmother, who had been a central figure in her life, often shared stories of Apache women who had shown courage and resilience in times of hardship. Maria would listen carefully, feeling a connection to her heritage and realizing that strength ran through her veins. These stories gave her courage, reminding her that even in a world that sometimes seemed unfair, she could carve her own path. Maria's social life was quiet. She had a few close friends at school, and they often gathered under the shade of a large mesquite tree after classes, sharing secrets, laughter, and dreams. They spoke about the future, about leaving the reservation for college or work, and about the kind of lives they wanted to lead. Yet, even among friends, Maria sometimes felt different. She carried a seriousness beyond her years, shaped by responsibility and the longing for something more. While others seemed content with staying, she yearned for movement, change, and hope. Her routine also included trips into town with her mother to buy supplies or attend community events. These outings were rare but precious. Town was a place full of life, with stores, busy streets, and faces Maria didn't see every day. She loved the small adventures of walking past colorful shop windows, smelling fresh bread from the bakery, and listening to the distant hum of traffic that seemed so foreign compared to the quiet of the desert. These trips made her realize how vast the world could be, how many possibilities existed beyond the boundaries she had always known. One summer morning, as the sun rose slowly over the desert horizon, Maria set out on a chore she had done countless times before, delivering fresh eggs from her family's small chicken coop to the neighbors and local stores. She balanced the basket carefully, feeling the weight of the eggs and the significance of her task. It wasn't just a chore. It was a way for her family to earn a little extra money and stay connected with the community. As she walked along the dusty trail, she noticed the familiar outline of the nearby ranch in the distance, a place she had always passed but rarely visited. The ranch belonged to Thomas, a man older than most of the people she knew. He was a mature rancher who had spent years managing his cattle and land. Maria had seen him from afar on previous trips, strong, quiet, and capable, with eyes that seemed to understand more than he let on. There was an aura about him, a sense of steadiness and confidence that intrigued her without her fully understanding why. Today, however, their paths would cross in a way that would change her life in subtle but lasting ways. As Maria approached the ranch, Thomas stepped outside to greet her. He was polite, offering a gentle smile and a nod, asking about the eggs and her family. Maria, slightly nervous at first, found herself talking with him easily. He asked questions not just out of politeness, but because he genuinely seemed interested in her answers. They spoke about the weather, the chickens, and the work required to care for the land. Maria noticed that unlike others who often overlooked young girls, Thomas listened carefully, responding thoughtfully and respectfully. There was no rush, no judgment, just a simple conversation that felt different from any other she had had. This meeting, brief as it seemed, planted a seed in Maria's heart. It was the first time someone outside her family and immediate community made her feel seen in a way that went beyond superficial politeness. There was a comfort in his presence, a subtle reassurance that not all adults would dismiss her thoughts or ambitions. She left the ranch that morning with a basket a little lighter but a heart a little fuller, carrying with her a sense of curiosity and a quiet excitement she couldn't quite name. Back home, Maria continued her daily routines, but now with a spark of anticipation for the next encounter. She felt the weight of her responsibilities, yes, but also the hint of possibility. The desert, once vast and unchanging, now seemed like a place where connections could happen, where people could inspire one another, and where hope, though fragile, could grow. That summer, the sun rose and set over the red earth, each day blending work and quiet reflection. Yet Maria felt the first stirrings of change, a feeling that her life might not be confined to the paths she had always known. As the evening fell and the desert turned golden, Maria would sit by the window of her home, watching the sky shift from pink to deep purple, feeling a mixture of contentment and longing. The stories of her grandmother, the laughter of her siblings, and the new connection she had made with Thomas lingered in her mind. She realized that life, though often challenging, also held moments of unexpected beauty, moments that could give her courage and shape her dreams. That summer, Maria's heart was quietly opening to the possibility of hope, and though she did not yet know what the future would hold, she felt ready to face it with determination and grace. Maria could not stop thinking about the day she had met Thomas at the ranch. It was not the first time she had seen him from a distance, but it was the first time they had truly talked. His calm voice, his patient way of listening, and the respectful manner in which he spoke to her had left a lasting impression. She found herself walking past the ranch more often than necessary, pretending to check on errands, deliveries, or the distant horizon. Each time she would catch a glimpse of him moving through the fields or tending to the cattle, and her heart would skip a little. It was a summer when the days seemed endless, each one stretching under the hot desert sun. Maria's life continued with its usual rhythm, helping her mother, tending to her siblings, attending school, and running small errands to earn some money for the family. Yet everything felt slightly brighter now, as if the desert itself held new possibilities. When she passed the ranch, Thomas would sometimes wave from afar. Those small gestures became important to Maria. They were silent acknowledgments that her presence mattered, that her voice could be heard, and that the world outside her family circle was not entirely unreachable. One afternoon, Maria's mother asked her to deliver fresh eggs and a basket of vegetables to the ranch again. Maria's steps felt lighter than usual, and she felt a nervous excitement building inside her. She carried the basket carefully, balancing the weight and imagining the conversation she might have. When she reached the ranch, Thomas was outside checking the fences that separated one part of the field from another. He looked up and smiled warmly. "Hello, Maria," he said. "How's your family?" Maria smiled back, feeling a sense of ease wash over her. "They're well, thank you. My mother asked me to bring these to you. I hope everything is fine here too." Thomas took the basket from her gently. "Everything's fine, thanks." "These look wonderful." He glanced at the eggs and vegetables with appreciation. "You must have spent a lot of time caring for these." Maria nodded. "We all help." "My siblings try too, but I make sure everything is ready before school." She paused for a moment, feeling shy but encouraged by his kind attention. "It keeps me busy, but I like helping my family." Thomas looked at her thoughtfully. "That's admirable. You have a strong sense of responsibility for your age. Not everyone does." Maria's cheeks flushed slightly. No one had ever said that to her before. Most adults either gave instructions or passed by without noticing her efforts. Thomas's words felt different. They felt genuine. For a brief moment, Maria allowed herself to imagine what life could be like if someone recognized her hard work and dreams. Over the next few weeks, Maria found herself visiting the ranch more often, sometimes under the guise of delivering supplies or checking on errands. She noticed small details about the ranch that she had never paid attention to before. The way the sunlight reflected off the metal roof of the barn, the soft lowing of the cattle, and the rhythmic sound of Thomas's boots against the dry earth. Every visit became an opportunity to learn, not just about the ranch, but about Thomas as a person. He spoke calmly and thoughtfully, often sharing stories about the land, his work, and his experiences growing up. Maria listened closely, fascinated by his knowledge and the gentle wisdom in his words. One hot afternoon, as the sun reached its peak, Thomas invited Maria to sit in the shade of a large mesquite tree while he worked on repairing a fence. At first, Maria hesitated, unsure if it was proper to linger. But Thomas reassured her with a warm smile. "Sit down for a while," he said. "It's too hot to be standing all the time. We can talk." Maria accepted, sitting on the soft grass, feeling a sense of comfort she could not explain. Thomas offered her a glass of water from a jug he had brought, and she drank gratefully. They spoke about small things at first, the weather, the work, and the life of the land. But soon the conversation turned to dreams and aspirations. "What do you want to do when you leave the reservation?" Thomas asked gently. Maria thought for a moment. She had not spoken of this to many people, fearing that her dreams might seem impossible. But something about Thomas made her feel safe.
"I want to go to college," she said softly.
"I want to study, maybe become a teacher, or work in a library. I want to see the world beyond here, even just for a little while." Thomas nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Those are wonderful goals, Maria, and I believe you can achieve them. You have the determination and the intelligence. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Maria felt a surge of hope. She had longed to hear encouragement like this. Most adults on the reservation were busy with their own struggles, and many of her peers' families discouraged dreaming too big, saying the world outside was too difficult to reach. Thomas's words were different. They carried belief, not pity. Days turned into weeks, and their conversations grew deeper. Maria found herself opening up about her life, her responsibilities, and her quiet moments of fear and hope. Thomas shared some of his own experiences, the challenges he had faced running a ranch, and the lessons he had learned about patience and resilience. Their bond was subtle but strong, built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of hard work and dreams. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, painting the desert sky in shades of pink and gold, Thomas and Maria sat on a small hill overlooking the ranch. Maria felt the warm breeze on her face, the smell of dry earth and wildflowers filling the air. She realized how much she had come to enjoy these moments. The conversations, the quiet understanding, and the gentle encouragement Thomas offered. She felt lighter than she had in years, as if a weight she had carried alone was slowly lifting.
"Maria," Thomas said softly, "you have a rare kind of strength."
Many people your age would be overwhelmed by everything you carry, but you keep moving forward. Don't forget that. Maria felt her eyes well up, not from sadness, but from a mix of gratitude and hope. No one had ever spoken to her this way, as if her life, her efforts, and her dreams truly mattered. She nodded, smiling. "Thank you."
I've never felt that way before.
As summer continued, Maria began to see life on the reservation differently. The chores and responsibilities remained, but they were now paired with a sense of purpose and possibility. Thomas became more than just a rancher in the distance. He was a mentor, a guide, and someone who believed in her. Their connection remained respectful and thoughtful, a quiet source of strength that inspired Maria to push forward. Maria also began to notice changes in herself. She was more confident at school, more willing to speak up and ask questions. She studied with greater focus, determined to turn her dreams into reality. Her family noticed the difference too. Her mother commented on how she seemed more hopeful, more determined, and her siblings began to follow her example in small ways. The encouragement Maria received from Thomas radiated into her daily life, affecting how she approached challenges and opportunities. Despite the subtle closeness between them, Maria was careful. She understood that people might not fully understand their bond, and she was conscious of the judgments that could arise. Yet, she could not deny the truth. Thomas's presence gave her hope. His guidance and belief in her potential became a source of quiet strength, a reminder that she was capable of more than her immediate surroundings might suggest. One late afternoon, Maria stayed a little longer than usual at the ranch, helping Thomas repair a section of fence that had been damaged by a recent storm. They worked side by side, sharing laughter and light conversation, the rhythm of their efforts creating a sense of companionship. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Thomas paused and looked at her with a gentle expression. "You're doing very well, Maria. You're strong, capable, and determined. Don't ever doubt that," he said. Maria smiled, feeling a warmth she could not explain. "I won't forget, I promise." That evening, as she walked back home across the desert under the fading light, Maria felt a sense of possibility she had never known. The desert, once vast and unchanging, now seemed alive with potential. There were people who could inspire, who could believe in her dreams, and who could help her see beyond the limits of her immediate world. For the first time, Maria truly felt hope, not just as a word, but as a living, breathing part of her life. And so, the summer continued, each day weaving together responsibility, learning, and quiet moments of connection. Maria carried her basket of eggs and vegetables, her mind full of dreams, and her heart quietly strengthened by the bond she had begun to form with Thomas. It was a summer that would stay with her forever, the season when a simple conversation and a patient friendship planted the seeds of hope, courage, and a vision of a future beyond the red earth of the reservation. The summer days passed quickly, and Maria found herself thinking about Thomas more often than she expected. Each visit to the ranch became a small adventure, a chance to escape the familiar routine of her life on the reservation. She liked learning from him, listening to his stories about the land and discovering how much patience and care went into running a ranch. But more than anything, she began to notice how his presence made her feel calm, encouraged, and seen in a way that was entirely new. It was a late afternoon when Thomas suggested that Maria try something she had never done before, helping with the cattle. At first, Maria hesitated. She had grown up helping her family with small chores, but rounding up cattle was a big task, and she had never been near such large animals before. Seeing the excitement and gentle encouragement in Thomas's eyes, however, she agreed. "Don't worry," he said with a reassuring smile. "I'll be right here with you. Just follow my instructions, and everything will be fine." Maria nodded, her heart beating faster. They walked together toward the grazing field, the cattle scattered across the wide expanse of land. Thomas showed her how to guide the animals gently, how to use her voice and movements to move them without causing stress. Maria listened carefully, mimicking his actions and slowly gaining confidence. She discovered a sense of courage she hadn't realized she possessed. By the time the sun was halfway down the sky, Maria felt proud of what she had accomplished. She had never thought of herself as someone who could handle such responsibility, but under Thomas's guidance, she had succeeded. Thomas smiled at her, clearly proud. "You did very well, Maria. I can see that you're learning quickly," he said. Maria's cheeks turned warm, and she felt a surge of happiness. "Thank you. I was nervous at first, but I think I enjoyed it more than I expected." Their afternoons together began to include more than just work. They would sit under the mesquite tree after finishing chores, talking about life, dreams, and the future. Maria shared her hopes of going to college, of traveling, and of experiencing things beyond the desert. Thomas listened with genuine interest, offering advice and encouragement without judgment. Sometimes he spoke about the mistakes he had made in his own life, and the lessons he had learned, which Maria found both fascinating and comforting. However, as their bond grew, Maria began to notice something else: the quiet scrutiny of others in the community. Some neighbors and peers whispered when they saw her spending so much time at the ranch. Questions and judgments sometimes followed her back to the reservation, and though she tried to ignore them, their weight was heavy. She was aware that many people might not understand her relationship with Thomas. He was older, experienced, and from outside her immediate circle, and this made some people skeptical. Maria felt a mix of emotions: excitement for what she was learning, gratitude for Thomas's support, but also a growing fear of how others would perceive her. She confided in her mother one evening while helping prepare dinner. "Mom, do you think... Am I doing something wrong?" Maria asked hesitantly, chopping vegetables carefully. Her mother looked at her with understanding eyes. "Maria, you are growing and you are learning. You are not doing anything wrong by learning from someone older, someone with experience. But you must be careful and respectful. People will talk, yes, but you have to follow your heart and your reason."
Maria nodded.
Her mother's words comforted her, reminding her to stay grounded while navigating the excitement and challenges of her growing bond with Thomas. She realized that learning, growing, and forming meaningful connections were not wrong. They were part of becoming herself. One day, while helping Thomas with repairs on the barn, a sudden storm rolled in. Dark clouds filled the sky and the wind began to whip across the fields. The first drops of rain fell, quickly followed by a heavy downpour. They ran for cover, laughing as they reached the barn, drenched but unharmed. Inside, Thomas offered Maria a towel to dry off. "You handled that storm very well," he said with a grin. "Not many people can stay calm when the weather changes so suddenly." Maria laughed, feeling the joy of the moment. "I guess I've learned to be ready for anything thanks to all the work on the reservation." The storm cleared in the evening, leaving the desert sparkling and fresh. Rain had soaked the earth, creating small puddles and streams that reflected the setting sun. Maria and Thomas stepped outside to watch the beauty of the transformed landscape. It was moments like this, quiet, shared, and simple, that made Maria feel a sense of belonging and hope. She began to understand that Thomas's presence in her life was not just about learning new skills. It was about discovering confidence, courage, and the ability to dream bigger than she had ever imagined. But challenges were not far away. Word of Maria's visits to the ranch eventually reached some of the adults in her community, and not all of it was positive. One evening after returning home, she overheard a conversation between two neighbors. "Have you seen Maria at Thomas's ranch?" one voice said. "She's too young to be spending so much time with him. It's not proper." Maria felt a pang of anxiety. She had not thought of it this way, but now the whispers made her wonder if her choices were being judged unfairly. She went to her room and sat by the window, watching the desert stretch under the stars, trying to calm her racing heart. That night, she thought about everything Thomas had taught her, the trust he had shown, and the confidence he had helped her find. She realized that she could not allow fear of gossip or judgment to overshadow the lessons and hope she had gained. Life was full of difficult choices, but she understood that her heart and mind needed to guide her. The following days brought more lessons. Thomas encouraged Maria to pursue her education with seriousness, offering guidance on studying, organizing her time, and thinking about her future. They discussed colleges, scholarships, and the steps she would need to take to make her dreams a reality. Maria listened carefully, feeling her confidence grow with each conversation. She began writing down her goals and creating a plan for how to reach them. For the first time, the future seemed tangible and attainable, rather than a distant dream. Yet, with every step forward, Maria also felt the complexity of growing up. She understood that her admiration and respect for Thomas could easily be misunderstood by others, and she worked to balance her feelings with the realities of her world. She continued to help her family, attend school, and participate in the community, always keeping a careful awareness of how her actions might be perceived. One afternoon, as they worked on planting new crops near the edge of the ranch, Thomas spoke to Maria about responsibility. Not just the work of the land, but the responsibility of making thoughtful decisions in life. "Maria," he said, "you are learning many things now, and soon you will face decisions that will shape your future. Remember that strength comes not just from what you do, but from knowing why you do it and thinking carefully about the choices you make." Maria nodded, feeling the weight and importance of his words. She realized that growing up meant more than completing chores or learning new skills. It meant understanding herself, her values, and how her actions affected others. Thomas's guidance was helping her develop not only practical abilities but also wisdom and discernment. By the end of the summer, Maria had grown in ways she had never imagined. She was stronger, more confident, and more aware of her potential. Her connection with Thomas had evolved into something deeper than admiration. It was a bond of trust, respect, and inspiration. She had learned to face challenges with courage, embrace opportunities, and believe in herself. Yet, the story was far from simple. With the growing closeness between Maria and Thomas, she also had to navigate the delicate balance of community expectations, personal dreams, and the judgments of others. These challenges added tension to her life, testing her resolve and shaping her character. Through it all, Maria carried hope. Hope that her dreams of education and independence could be realized. Hope that her hard work and determination would be recognized. And hope that the bond she had formed with Thomas would continue to guide her in a positive, supportive way. That summer was a turning point, a season of growth, lessons, and quiet courage that would shape her life for years to come. As the summer drew toward its end, Maria began to notice that life was becoming more complicated. The excitement and hope she had felt when spending time with Thomas were still there, but so was a new weight, the quiet judgments and whispers of others. The reservation was a close-knit community where everyone knew each other's business, and it was impossible to completely avoid the opinions of neighbors, friends, or extended family members. Maria had always tried to live quietly, but now her every visit to the ranch seemed to be observed by unseen eyes. At first, she tried to ignore the gossip. She reminded herself that Thomas had only ever treated her with respect and kindness, and that she was learning so much from him. Yet over time, the subtle comments from neighbors and some older members of the community began to sting. She overheard remarks like, "She spends too much time there," or, "What is that older man teaching her?" These words made Maria feel a strange mixture of shame, anxiety, and frustration. She wanted to defend herself, but she also wanted to be careful. One evening, as she returned home from school, she found her mother waiting for her. Her mother's face was calm, but Maria could sense that a serious conversation was coming.
"Maria," her mother said gently, "I know you enjoy spending time at Thomas's ranch."
"I know he has taught you many things and encouraged you to dream. But people are talking, and I want you to understand that the world isn't always kind to young women who step outside the path others expect them to follow." Maria felt a lump in her throat. I know, Mother. But I feel like I'm learning more than I ever have. He believes in me. He shows me that I can do more, that I can achieve my dreams." Her mother nodded slowly, taking her hand. "I understand, Maria, and I am proud of your courage and your dreams. But you must always remember to balance your heart and your mind. People may not understand your choices. You must make sure that you stay safe, respected, and true to yourself." Maria left the conversation feeling both comforted and burdened. She understood her mother's point. She could not control what others thought, but she also could not deny the impact Thomas had on her life. He had given her something she had never felt before: hope. Hope that she could be more than her circumstances. Hope that she could pursue her dreams, and hope that she could trust herself to make good decisions. Despite the whispers and subtle pressures, Maria continued to visit the ranch. One day, Thomas asked her to help with a particularly challenging task, fixing a section of the fence that had been damaged by a recent storm. Maria hesitated, feeling the physical challenge ahead, but Thomas's encouragement pushed her forward. "You can do this," he said, smiling. "You've already learned so much. You are stronger than you think." Maria felt a surge of determination. Together they worked through the afternoon, lifting heavy wooden posts, hammering nails, and carefully aligning the fence. By the time the sun began to set, the task was complete. Maria felt a sense of pride she had never known. She realized that these challenges, though exhausting, were teaching her more than just physical skills. They were showing her her own resilience. After their work, they sat together under the mesquite tree, enjoying the quiet beauty of the desert at dusk. The sky was painted in shades of pink and orange, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves above them. Maria felt a rare sense of peace, a moment where the noise of the world seemed to fade, leaving only the lessons, trust, and encouragement that Thomas had shared with her. But life, as Maria was beginning to understand, was rarely so simple. Word of her closeness with Thomas eventually reached more people on the reservation, and not all of it was kind. One afternoon, while Maria was helping her siblings with homework, she overheard her cousins whispering in the corner of the room. "Did you see Maria at the ranch again?" One said. "She's spending so much time with that man. Do you think it's right?" Maria felt her stomach tighten. She knew she could not ignore the opinions of everyone around her. The more people questioned her actions, the more she felt the weight of responsibility, not just to herself, but to her family, her community, and her own dreams. She wondered if continuing to spend time at the ranch would bring trouble or misunderstanding. That night she lay awake in her room thinking about Thomas and everything she had learned from him. She realized that the bond they shared was not something casual or fleeting. It was built on trust, respect, and the belief in her potential. He had given her something rare, someone who truly saw her abilities and encouraged her to grow. And yet she could not ignore the reality around her. The next day, Maria decided to speak with Thomas about her worries. They sat under the familiar mesquite tree, the warm afternoon sun casting soft shadows around them. "Thomas," Maria began hesitantly, I'm worried about what people are saying. Some of the neighbors, even my cousins, they don't understand why I spend so much time here. I feel like I need to be careful." Thomas looked at her with understanding, his eyes gentle. "Maria, it is natural to feel this way. The world can be quick to judge, especially when someone steps outside what others expect. But remember this: you are learning, growing, and preparing for a future that is yours. The opinions of others cannot take away what you are becoming. You must make choices that are wise, but also choices that honor who you are and what you dream of becoming." Maria felt a sense of relief, but also a renewed determination. She realized that growing up was not just about learning skills or completing chores. It was about navigating life's challenges with courage, intelligence, and balance. Thomas's guidance was helping her do exactly that. Over the next weeks, Maria continued to face both encouragement and scrutiny. She worked hard at school, excelling in her studies, while also helping her family and maintaining her connection with Thomas. Each success, whether mastering a new skill, receiving praise from a teacher, or completing a difficult task at the ranch, became a small victory, reinforcing her growing confidence. Yet Maria also encountered moments of doubt and fear. There were times when the gossip of neighbors, the judgment of peers, and the uncertainty of her future weighed heavily on her heart. She questioned whether she was doing the right thing, whether she could truly balance her dreams with the expectations of her community. During these moments, she would remember Thomas's words. "Strength comes not just from what you do, but from knowing why you do it." One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Thomas shared a story from his own life. He spoke about a time when he had faced criticism and doubt, when others questioned his choices and his abilities. He told Maria how he had learned to trust himself, to focus on his values and goals, and to ignore the noise of those who did not understand. Maria listened intently, feeling a deep connection to his experiences. She realized that life was filled with challenges and misunderstandings, but also with opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. By the end of the season, Maria had transformed. She was more confident, more resilient, and more aware of her own potential. The bond she shared with Thomas had become a source of strength, guiding her through the complexities of growing up and navigating the expectations of her community. She had learned to face challenges with courage, to balance hope with caution, and to trust herself in the decisions she made. Yet the story was not over. Maria understood that life would continue to test her, that there would be moments of doubt, struggle, and difficult choices. But she also knew that she had the tools to face these challenges. The guidance and support of Thomas, the love and wisdom of her family, and her own determination to pursue her dreams. As the desert nights grew cooler and the summer came to a close, Maria walked home under the stars, feeling a sense of purpose and hope. She had learned that true growth often comes through challenges, that trust and respect are powerful forms of support, and that hope, once discovered, can carry a person through even the hardest moments. That season had been a turning point in Maria's life. It was a time of learning, of facing fears, of building confidence, and of understanding the delicate balance between dreams and reality. The lessons she had learned, the bond she had formed, and the hope she carried with her would shape the next chapter of her life, preparing her for the future she had always imagined. Maria knew that the road ahead would not be simple. She would face new challenges, judgments, and decisions, but she also knew that she was stronger than she had ever realized, and that with courage, wisdom, and hope, she could navigate whatever life had in store. And in her heart, she carried the quiet reassurance that someone believed in her, someone who had shown her that dreams were not only possible, they were worth pursuing, no matter the obstacles. The summer had faded into early autumn, and the desert was beginning to change. The scorching heat of the day softened into warm afternoons, and the nights became cool and quiet. Maria felt a strange mix of emotions as she moved through the days: gratitude for the lessons she had learned, hope for the future, and a little fear of the unknown. Everything she had experienced with Thomas, everything she had learned about herself and her dreams was becoming a part of who she was. School had started again, and Maria was more focused than ever. She carried her notebooks and books with care, determined to excel in her studies. The encouragement she had received from Thomas, combined with her mother's wisdom, had given her a newfound confidence. She participated in class, helped her younger siblings with homework, and even shared what she had learned about leadership and responsibility with her friends. She felt as though a quiet strength was growing inside her, a strength that came not just from her accomplishments but from the knowledge that someone truly believed in her potential. At the same time, Maria continued to visit the ranch. Her trips were no longer just about helping with chores. They had become moments of learning, reflection, and quiet inspiration. Thomas taught her about the rhythms of the land, how to care for animals, and how to think ahead, anticipating challenges before they arrived. But more importantly, he taught her about life, about resilience, courage, and the value of hope. One crisp autumn morning, Thomas invited Maria to walk with him through a section of the ranch that she had never explored before. They followed a winding trail that led to a small grove of trees near a gentle stream. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and the leaves rustled softly in the breeze. Maria felt a sense of peace she had never known. "Maria," Thomas said, pausing to look at her, "I want you to remember something important. You have grown so much these past months. You have learned to face challenges, to work hard, and to dream. But the most important thing is to believe in yourself. No one can take away the strength you carry inside you." Maria nodded, her heart full. "I will remember. I feel stronger now. I feel like I can do more than I ever imagined." Thomas smiled as if he had known all along that she would reach this point. "And you will. Keep working toward your goals. Keep learning. Keep dreaming. The world is bigger than you think, and you have what it takes to reach it." Those words stayed with Maria long after she returned home. She began to think seriously about her future, about the steps she needed to take to leave the reservation and pursue higher education. She spent hours studying, writing essays for scholarship applications, and planning the courses she would need. Each day she felt a growing excitement and determination fueled by the lessons and encouragement she had received over the summer. At the same time, Maria also learned to balance her responsibilities at home. She continued to care for her siblings, help her mother, and participate in community events. But she no longer felt overwhelmed. The skills, patience, and confidence she had developed at the ranch allowed her to manage her time and energy with a sense of purpose. She realized that growth was not just about learning new things, it was about learning how to live with balance, wisdom, and self-respect. The whispers and judgments from others on the reservation did not disappear, but Maria found that they no longer had the same power over her. She understood that people would always have opinions, but she had learned to focus on what truly mattered: her goals, her values, and the relationships that supported her growth. She felt proud of herself for navigating the complexities of her life with courage and intelligence. One afternoon, Maria's mother approached her with a thoughtful expression. "Maria," she said gently, "I've seen how much you have grown. I am proud of you. You have faced challenges with strength and grace, and you have learned to follow your heart while being wise. That is a rare gift." Maria smiled, feeling warmth and gratitude. "Thank you, Mother. I couldn't have done it without your support and Thomas's guidance. I feel ready to face what comes next." As autumn progressed, Maria received exciting news. She had been accepted for a scholarship to attend a college several states away. The news filled her with joy, hope, and a touch of nervousness. She knew leaving the reservation would be a big step, but she also knew she was ready. She had the skills, confidence, and determination to succeed. The night before she was to leave, Maria visited the ranch one last time before her departure. The desert was quiet, and the sky was filled with stars. She walked slowly through the fields, reflecting on everything she had experienced. She thought about the long mornings and afternoons spent working, learning, and dreaming. She remembered the challenges, the moments of doubt, and the judgment she had faced. And she remembered Thomas's quiet encouragement, his belief in her, and the hope he had given her. Thomas met her at the edge of the field, holding a small package in his hands. "Maria," he said softly, "I wanted to give you something before you leave." He handed her the package and she opened it carefully. Inside was a small notebook with blank pages and a note that read, "For your dreams, your thoughts, and your plans. Fill these pages with your journey, and remember that you are capable of more than you imagine." Maria felt tears welling in her eyes. She hugged Thomas, feeling a deep gratitude for everything he had given her. Not just the practical lessons, but the belief in herself and the hope for a brighter future. "I will," she whispered. "I promise I will make the most of this." Thomas smiled gently. "I know you will, Maria. Remember, this is only the beginning. Your journey is just starting, and you have all the tools you need to succeed. Keep your heart open, your mind focused, and your spirit strong." The next morning, Maria packed her bags and said goodbye to her family. Her mother embraced her tightly, whispering words of love and encouragement. Her siblings clung to her, their eyes wide with admiration and sadness. Maria felt a mixture of emotions: excitement, nervousness, and a deep sense of responsibility. She was leaving home, but she was carrying with her the lessons, hope, and courage she had gained over the summer. As the car drove away from the reservation, Maria looked out the window at the red earth stretching beneath the sky. She thought about the long days at the ranch, the guidance of Thomas, and the love and wisdom of her family. She felt a profound sense of gratitude for the experiences that had shaped her, the people who had believed in her, and the hope that now filled her heart. College would be a new adventure, full of challenges, opportunities, and growth. Maria knew she would face difficult moments, moments of homesickness, and moments of self-doubt. But she also knew she was ready. She had learned that strength came from courage, resilience, and belief in oneself. She had learned that hope could carry a person through even the most uncertain times. And she had learned that meaningful connections, like the bond she had formed with Thomas, could inspire growth and provide guidance that lasted a lifetime. As she arrived at the campus, Maria felt a mixture of awe and excitement. The buildings were large, the grounds expansive, and the students from many different places bustling around. For a moment she felt a twinge of nervousness, wondering if she truly belonged. But then she remembered Thomas's words, "You are capable of more than you imagine." She straightened her shoulders, took a deep breath, and stepped forward with confidence.
The journey ahead was unknown, but Maria no longer feared it.
She had learned to trust herself, to navigate challenges with grace, and to embrace the possibilities before her. Her heart was full of hope, her mind focused on her dreams, and her spirit ready for whatever came next. In the quiet moments that followed, Maria often thought back to the desert, to the ranch, and to the lessons she had learned there. She remembered the long afternoons of work, the moments of laughter and learning, and the bond that had given her courage. She realized that while the landscape of her life had changed, the value, skills, and hope she carried would remain with her forever. Maria's story was not just about leaving home or achieving success. It was about growth, courage, and the power of hope. It was about learning to believe in oneself even when the world seemed uncertain. And it was about the people who guide us, encourage us, and inspire us to become our best selves. As she walked across the campus for the first time, Maria felt a quiet joy and determination. She was ready to face her future, to pursue her dreams, and to honor the lessons she had learned. And deep inside, she knew that the hope and guidance she had received from Thomas, combined with her own courage and determination, would carry her through every challenge, every opportunity, and every adventure that lay ahead. Maria's journey was just beginning, but she stepped forward with confidence, heart full of hope, and a spirit ready to embrace all the possibilities that life had to offer. She had learned that true strength comes not just from facing challenges, but from believing in oneself, pursuing dreams, and never losing hope, even when the path is uncertain. And in that belief, she found the power to shape her own future, a future filled with promise, growth, and endless possibilities.